So, welcome to another episode of About Her. Today I have the wonderful Muslima with me again. I'm so excited that we are due like part two. And today we're talking about holistic nutrition because last time we haven't even touched on it. And it's something that we kind of like share interested in, but you are so much more deep into it than me. So, welcome back, and I'm really looking forward to like you see what comes up within this topic.
Thank you so much for having me again. I'm so excited to talk about this. Yeah, this is probably one of my core passions. So I'm
Yeah,
excited to deep into this. Yeah.
this is really cool, I think, because especially in the world we live in that is now so fast paced compared to like if I think of my grandmother who like of course like did kind of everything from scratch and knew all these like amazing recipes of how to support the family and like really harvest what is in the garden, not just food wise, but also like when she looks to like how we can have additional like support for the body and like the right vitamins and minerals. And there was so much knowledge and that it basically got lost. So I think it's so amazing that you very early dove deep into kind of regathering that wisdom for you and your family.
Yeah. Especially, I think I want to mention that considering we're in different countries, I think that makes a big difference too. Um, the healthcare system or just the food care system in America, I'm sure is much different than in Europe. And what actually got me into holistic nutrition first was because I had my own health challenges. I was dealing with eczema. It wasn't like really serious, but I had a lot of eczema on the inside of my arms. And there was one point I was dealing with like heart palpitations and like these sharp pains in my chest. So I had to go. This was, I would say, around 16 years old in high school. So I go to the doctor for an EKG and them to check my heart. They didn't see anything wrong. And I was getting probably steroid cream for the eczema, but that wasn't helping. And I was just thinking because, just me always had this critical thinking and analytical mind was kind of just like, well, we're in this age where we have like all this technological advances. Why cannot they not see something? I know what I feel in my body, but how can they not see that something is wrong? And I actually end up in my parents' room looking at their books for some reason. I don't even know how I got there. But there was this one book that caught my eye called Cures Data I Want You to Know About by Kevin Trudel. He was basically a whistleblower on the pharmaceutical industry. That's actually kind of what got me started in knowing the controversy of how the FDA, the works and everything just in the pharmaceutical industry. And then there was another book I saw called The Mucusless Healing System Diet by Arnold Ehret. I think he wrote that book in like 1800s. But basically this book was talking about how disease forms and all of the mucus that we have in our body. So I took it upon myself to become like a vegetarian for about 8 months, and I kind of followed the book, and it was just mostly a lot of fruits and vegetables. One of the things that I did was apple cider vinegar because it has like a lot of probiotics and
Mm-hmm.
prebiotics,
Love that.
and it really helped to clear out everything. I felt like I had so much vitality. I thought I was young, but I felt even younger, and like I
Mm.
literally wake up in the morning just like full of just bubble of energy. And so I basically healed myself for a while. And I remember my mother was saying, I was like, oh no, like I'm not gonna eat this or I'm not gonna eat that. And people were kind of like, what? You're not gonna like eat chicken or something like that? But, and my mother would tell like her friend, oh, she's just in a phase. And I was like, no, this is not a phase. And I'm sure she knows now, like it's been all of these years. But that's kind of what basically got me started was knowing that. And then once I got into college, I did even more deeper research, even something as small as the food pyramid, how the
Mhm.
food pyramid changed over the years based off
Oh,
companies and just like it was just a lot of things. But also once I get interested into a topic, I just kind of like hyper focus on it and I deep dive into it. So it kind of became like my obsession.
mhm.
It became like my obsession. So everything I did kind of stemmed from that.
Yes, and I think like actually it's kind of like a really beautiful thing that you've discovered all this so early in your life because like I know your kids can benefit from this. Many people like never discover this or much later on. So I think it's actually like I totally agree. If you do have health issues really early in life, it's kind of like this shouldn't be this early in life. But then again, I
Yeah.
think it shouldn't be anywhere in life. I think we're really designed to live healthy. And as you said, like it's not a healthcare system that we're living in. Regardless if you are in the US or in Europe, it's not that much better here. So
Yeah.
there's the same like structure. There's the same like, big companies buying into the food pyramid or like education around healthcare and food. So it's kind of like similar. And I
Yeah.
think we have been taught to like, oh, this is like just a body like aging, or this is just normal. But it's not normal to have all these pains, and it's not normal to like have all these skin conditions or this like really tiredness, whether you're young or old. I think it actually doesn't matter so much. It's like really we have set our baseline for what is feeling healthy, feel like very low. I feel these
Yeah.
pains.
Very low.
Actually, it's kind of like there is so much more energy in our bodies and so much more like strength. And I love that you discover that through reading and really applying all these informations that you found in the books, because so often it's like you read it and you're kind of impressed by it, but then there's no there's no transition into like real life.
Yeah, because I'm about to say knowledge is power, but it's definitely more powerful once you apply it to your life. And so, just reading those books, just even having access to that type of knowledge, which is quite interesting that those books were even in my parents' room because I grew up in a household that was not healthy, just eating all types of new snacks, sodas, just everything. I didn't live in that environment. So, as you mentioned about like your grandmother, wisdom of the food, like it never even crossed my mind about this gardening and we had vegetables. We ate vegetables with all our meals. I remember that. But for the most part, like yeah, we ate out. We had soda. I remember just a lot of junk food, and yeah, it was just those me reading those books that kind of just shifted my perspective about food, and just open even more doors of
Mhm.
knowledge and perspective. Because, like I said, once I started to do that, like healing, I became more I had more vitality in my body. And just, I noticed a lot of shift. My taste buds changed. I remember I used to love honey buns from the corner store. I used to like honey buns, sometimes those 25-cent drinks, which is full of dye, those colored drinks. I think they still sell it. I was surprised. I think I saw it in Walmart. It's called Huggies now. It's like it's like in a little barrel.
Mhm.
It was like 25 cents. But when I wanted to taste this honey bun, I almost kind of just like wanted to throw up
Yeah.
with the drink because it didn't taste like food. It literally tasted like just chemicals.
Mhm.
And so like when you look back on the ingredients too, you see like this list
Long
of
list.
ingredients in your amount of food. It's literally a bunch of chemicals put together to make it the term is edible like food. It's not actually
Mhm.
food, but edible like food. And it was just like very astonishing to know
Yeah.
that
Kind of
when
crazy.
you're in it, yeah, that's all you know until you get yourself out of it.
Yeah. I think that's really important because it's like getting yourself out of it is not that easy. Like, or like talking for myself, I've never been the person who's really like addicted to something. I thought, because like all like drugs, cigarettes, alcohol, it's really not of my thing, but I've always had addiction to sugar, and for me it's so hard to like stop that. And I kind of like, I'm doing phases of not eating it
Yeah.
completely, artificial sweetening, and then again like I kind of fall back. But what really helps me is what you just said, like this like dropping out of this classical way is like I go through the supermarket, and when I really realize, when I make myself visualize that this is not food at all. Yeah, my body might crave it because it's kind of like in the habit of having more sweets. That is definitely good for me. But it's like just chemical ingredients added together. It's like if you go into a lab. And I think the more you have that in the back of your mind, the easier it is to let go, because it's like really disgusting and you really realize what you're doing to your body, instead of just going for the instant gratification that you can get if you do eat some junk food or drink some soda, or like what it would be in my case, eat a chocolate or something. So
Yeah.
the addiction, or like the craving, I feel it's often easier to handle when you kind of like know the behind
Yeah.
the scenes a bit more, like what you did with the books that you've read, which kind of like said, oh, okay, well, it's maybe the food pyramid isn't like really the healthiest advice, just thoughts like this can change a lot.
And it requires a lot of discipline because, like as you mentioned, with the sugar, especially in America, everything has sugar in it almost, even down to the salad dressing. So that's why
Yes.
I ended up making a lot of the things that I made were just from scratch. And there's even studies how sugar, when you're consuming sugar, it lights up parts of the brain almost as if you're taking cocaine. So
Yes.
it is a drug. And then not only just the sugar that they're using, but they have refined sugar because natural sugar we know comes from the sugar canes. The way everything is created, it has the fiber, it has the vitamins and everything. And once they strip all of that stuff and refine it, it's even worse. And now you're just having like these insulin spikes.
Yeah.
And so even just now, from something as even if it's 100% juice, sometimes I like to get it for my kids. Oh, let me get it like once a week on a Friday or something. And I drink the juice, or if I like have a snack that has like sugar in it, I can just feel it in my body. Like,
Mm-hmm.
no, I'm not even. You just have to have that mindset and this type of mental discipline and grit that this is not what I do. Otherwise, you'll just spiral and you'll just be
And it's
eating
really
it.
to go into
Yeah.
that circle. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
what I find is easy to kind of eliminate that addiction though to sugar is just kind of like detoxing the greens. Definitely, I
Mm.
always tell people like just having greens in your body, like if you're drinking green smoothies or something like that. But like that helps to clear out that faster. And then also sugar is just it has so many complications because you're having all this sugar and then it robs you of the vitamins in your body. So now you're depleted of your, and it's just like a downhill spiral. And that's how illnesses, diseases, yeah, it's just a whole. And
It's
I'm
actually
sure that they know this. That's why you put in the food so you can be addicted, so you can buy more and get more and eat more.
good.
Um, yeah, that's a whole nother topic.
Definitely. I agree. It's like a
Yeah,
really
definitely.
deep one, which would never fit into like one
Yeah,
episode. I think it's really important to like always remind ourselves that maybe 90% of what you see in the supermarket is like not healthy food. And so if you don't make it yourself, if you don't like cook the food yourself or prepare the drinks yourself, then it's most likely not healthy. And what I've heard along my journey a lot, because like I've gone very deep into that too, like eliminating sugar and any sort of like um white stuff, any gluten, any milk products. Went vegan for years, and everyone said like, "How do you have time to like prepare?" But it's not so much about the time. I think it's more like if you know some basics, it can be done
yeah,
very fast. And I have in my mind that I'm seeing a lot of your posts where you like do simmer pots, or you do like you kind of, it looks like you're doing it like on the side while caring for your kids. You have all these things going on for preparation of like healthy versions of drinks and foods. And so what I want to say with this is like it's absolutely doable, I feel, but I would love to like have you more share on that. Is like it's more on maybe thinking a bit in advance what you need, or what is like needed in that period of time.
to start making things from scratch. Starting simple, always starting simple. I would say one thing at a time because some people think you just have to do so many things at a time. And the way the body works, even wants to kind of protect you from fear. Like if you're doing something that's out of your comfort zone, right? So it's always just starting really small. For me, I like to just kind of go dive in, but I would definitely recommend just starting really small. Like one thing, if you're just changing, for example, if you wanted to start your morning drinking warm water or water with lemon and apple cider vinegar, just something once that you can do, and then you kind of just add extra stuff. When it comes to making things like from scratch, I literally made, well, I don't really do as much anymore after I have like 6 children now. But in the beginning, I literally was making pancakes from scratch, all of the cupcakes, whatever, everything I was doing, and just substitute. And I was doing cane sugar or honey or maple syrup. And so I would say first is education, awareness about the types of food. Because like you said, when you go into the grocery stores, a lot of stuff is packaging. And even if it says organic, oh, this is all natural, that's the front. That is advertisement. People have to understand that's advertisement. You have to turn the package around and look at the actual ingredients. Because even if it's organic, sometimes you find soy lecithin or natural flavors. And what is natural flavors? So, and then Yeah, but it's about just like I said, doing one step at a time, just changing one thing that you're eating, maybe adding more fresh vegetables to your plate. And did you want to know more about like the kids involved, or just like as a
Mhm.
as a parent?
Ah,
Like
all of
how did I introduce my
all of
kid?
it,
Okay,
basically.
all of it.
There's no,
Yeah.
I
Okay.
think it
Yeah.
all
Just
goes
like
together very well.
yeah. When it comes to children, definitely starting them as early as possible. Start them as early as possible. So when my children, they were in the teething stage, I would give them a carrot or a celery or a chicken bone, but it was mostly like a carrot or a celery because it's really hard and fibrous, so they're not choking on it. And I'll just let them nibble on it. So not only is it strengthening their jaws to help them like chew and masticate the food better, but and also they get to taste it.
Yeah.
So now that they're older, there's something that they were used to when they're young. So if they want a snack, it's carrots in the fridge. My daughter would be like, "Oh, I want a carrot," and I literally peel her the carrot, not the baby carrots because those are processed too. They like to put things in there, so I give the actual carrots, peel it. Or my son, he wants celery.
Cool.
And this new thing too, my kids, I don't know, I didn't introduce this to them. I don't know where this came from, but they would eat frozen vegetables like it's candy. And
Nice.
they get like a mug or a cup and put frozen vegetables, like mixed vegetables or something, and just eat it. Yeah, so it's just introducing little things at a time. And if you have children, just starting it from the beginning when they're young, because that's what they know. Because it's harder when you're older, like you as an adult, you have to switch it around. And then also just being able to purchase things that are more like healthy alternative that you have in the house. If I have like tortilla chips and salsa in the house and just carrots and fruits and vegetables, maybe some other snacks, that's what you're gonna eat because that's what's in there.
Yeah.
Rice cakes with peanut butter. I don't really snack that much. I just want to eat food. But my kids, they like to snack and they'll have like fruits and vegetables, but then also have chips. I think now that they're in school, because I put them in school this year, um, they're more I think they have more access to even more snacks and just like the school lunches, and I think that's probably why they've been sick a little bit more. But yeah, just kind of when you're at home, even though like when your kids are at school and if your kids are eating lunch, kind of like when they get home, kind of just bringing them back to that healthy standards when you're at home, and then just opening the door to let them know because as adults and as children, it's not just about just teaching them, and it's about showing them. They're learning by example about what they visually see and what you really do. And being a role model, you have to do it yourself too. The kids have to see you.
That's maybe the
Like
hard.
I drink tea a lot. I'm a heavy tea drinker. So my kids are naturally tea drinkers. Like if my
Yeah.
son comes, I want this tea or I want that tea. And I use a lot of different herbs too. I was looking back at an old Instagram account that I had that I forgot called Three Platters. That was about mind, body, and soul too, like the three. And there was a picture I had different herbs. It was like lemongrass, hibiscus, and something else. And my son knew like the differences between. And I was like, "Which tea do you want?" He was like, "I want the lemongrass." And I was just like, "Oh, like I don't remember like that." But yeah, just introducing that, and kids will remember certain things. So yeah, they'll have tea, or like you said, you see my post, I'm making ginger, pineapple, turmeric tea, or something like that. And also there's a thing that people feel like, oh, healthy is a diet. It's not.
Mm.
Being healthy is a diet. It's a lifestyle. It's not something that you just do to lose weight. It's something that you do for health in general, and just on. And it doesn't have to be bland. Like God created so many spices in the world. There's so many things that you can use to just spruce up your food. Like it's not just salt. You can use like basil or thyme or rosemary, and there's different things. And I think that's kind of what kind of deter people because they think, oh my goodness, my food is gonna be bland. I have to suffer. Like you don't have to suffer. You can just get creative. Like
Sounds so
you
hard.
can just like it's so hard. Like oh my goodness, I'm going to starve.
Yeah.
You can have there's alternatives. One, so you can, if you don't want to use refined sugar, you can use cane sugar, you can use honey, you can use maple syrup. You don't want to use refined salt, you can use Himalayan salt. You
Mm.
don't want to use all of these other seasonings, make your own blend. There's fresh rosemary with
Yes.
sea salt. It's just about experimenting with what you have that's available, like you said, and just kind of just open your mind. There's different reading books, natural cookbooks, and then kind of just experiment doing what's best for you. Because even though I'll look at recipes and see how people do their own thing, I ended up doing my own thing and say, oh, well, let me see how I can make it taste a little better. Let me do this. And I would say one of my favorite spices is cardamom. People probably don't know about
It's
that.
beautiful.
It's like a cardamom. Yeah, it's like an aphrodisiac too, almost a little bit. The spice, but I remember making, it was cardamom, orange, almond biscotti or something. And it was like half dipped in dark chocolate. It's kind of just getting very creative. I'm a foodie too, so it's like I love food. So it was going to be about like, let me experiment with actually making things that taste good. Or even cardamom tea. Like when you're making chai, chai is made with like there's star anise, cloves, cardamom they add with the black tea and all of that. And you can make it without the black tea if you don't want the caffeine in it,
Yeah.
depending on like there's so many ways to experiment. But yeah, just starting small and kind of just expanding and reading and just expanding your mind with knowledge, but also experimenting, actually put in the yeah.
Yeah, I think it's like if you do have too much pressure when you want to shift things and you kind of want to shift all at once or you cannot go back. I feel it's not so much about like getting rid of the stuff you eat now, but it's more like adding the new things in with curiosity, like you said, experimenting and just seeing what fits and like having this like curiosity of a child that like really just tries it out and is not afraid to like try it out again, just because you have made that one thing and it didn't taste good or you didn't feel good with it, it doesn't mean that it's not for you. It's maybe meaning just like that there needs to be a little tweak. And I think it's important
Have
that
fun.
that we kind of like
I was looking at
be in the flow there. And also you said this feeling of like giving up something. I had that too.
yeah.
Vegan, everyone's like, don't you miss the meat or the cheese? And I said, like, no, isn't it tasting all the same? It's like, no. For me, it was so fun to dive into recipes that I've never dived into, although I'd love cooking for like forever. But like experimenting and finding out new veggies and like new combination, there was never the feeling of like the lack of something. It was like enriching my whole experience with food. And I think that can be the case in any way. If you're like trying to reduce sugar or reduce whatever, it doesn't have to like take something away. If anything, I think it adds more to your knowledge and it adds more to your
Yeah.
taste, because you said it before, like the taste buds change. So even
Yeah,
if
it does. It will adapt. Yeah.
yeah, it's
Yeah.
and I think it's very necessary to know that even though maybe it hasn't tasted good at the first time, if you're like really changing and caring more for your body, than things that have tasted like, I don't know, kind of not interesting at the first might taste really cool later on when your taste buds have changed.
Yeah.
Kind of it's the body's like so adaptable, and I think we need to like remind ourselves of that in the food part of our lives too, that there is so much possible if we are kind of committed to doing so and to letting the body unfold in a way that is definitely natural for it.
Yeah.
So what sorry, it lagged.
No, I was gonna say, yeah, also like when you're trying to make that transition from like you're eating this unhealthy diet to more of a healthy diet, you can also clean your palate to kind of restart your taste buds. Like when I did the mucusless healing system, I became vegetarian. That was only for like 7 months. It was kind of like a detox. And that's kind of what I wanted to bring up too, because I know you mentioned meats and milk. And people say like because they have this veganism movement and vegetarianism. When you're plant-based, I noticed too, that's more of like a detox. Like, you're letting your body cleanse out and everything. But because I was plant-based for quite a while, but I also noticed, especially when you're in your childbearing years, you need certain fats and proteins.
Yeah.
And the fats and proteins in vegetables is not the same as in meat. And I recognize that it's more about the quality of the food that you eat, not just the quantity. So if we have here in America, they're having all of these breeds of cows, and they're just feeding them whatever, and they're sick cows. They're going to be sick meat. You need to have healthy cows that's fed the food that they're naturally supposed to be eating. And the same with milk. They're homogenizing it, changing the whole chemical structure, pasteurizing it, killing the enzymes that you need, and then people wondering, I'm lactose intolerant. like because they can't handle it's like the milk doesn't even have the enzymes you need for your body to digest the food in the first place. So it's about kind of like, if we think about just even, I don't know how it is in Europe because there's certain places out here that they still sell raw milk, but
Mm.
there's only a certain list, and some of them is only for the consumption of supposedly animals and things like that. But people will notice that when they're not, those who are lactose intolerant, they're drinking raw milk or low pasteurized milk that their
Yeah.
body can't handle it
Yeah.
because you have the enzymes to help break it down. It's like God created something a certain way with all of the stuff in there. You can't imagine and if you want to alter it and change it to your own way, man, there's an intelligence, a higher wisdom in there for the stuff to be created. And I guess when man comes in tamper it with like hybrid stuff, or even like with carrots, for example, it took me years to recognize the orange carrot is hybrid. Like
Mm.
the natural carrots are like purple, like off white, and they're more herbaceous, like a earthy taste.
Yeah.
The the orange carrots are sweeter, so
Yeah.
it's a higher sweet.
Isn't that
And the
interesting?
same is with the food, like the apples and then it's the way the farm is so many layers because it's like the way the farming is, the monocrops, how they're dealing with one crops instead of multiple crops. So it's deplenishing the nutrients in there. So like the apple that we're eating now, compared to the apple that maybe our ancestors and our grandparents ate 50 years ago, you have to eat 20 apples now to get the same amount. And we wonder why we are like a society of all of these supplements because we were trying to compensate for the things that's not in the food that's supposed to be there originally.
Oh.
I don't even know if I answered the question because I feel like I got off
Really
tangent
good,
a
but
little bit.
it's like you touched on something that I'm also very passionate about, which is like the quality of food. And I totally agree. I would say like rather, if you choose to eat meat, rather eat like one piece of meat a week or however you do it that is really, really, really good quality and that has been fed and held in a way that is like, I don't want to say human, yeah, but like that is like really fine for that soul that you're like kind of that lived there and now you're eating the meat, so you kind of feel like the way the animal was held and treated and also what it was fed. So if you're eating one piece of that meat, it's something very different compared to like eating five
Yeah.
times a week meat that is like in this little plastic box, vacuumed and gassed so that it stays like fresh, quote unquote, longer. So it really is the question what you're eating. And I think my most eye opening experience was when I was first growing my veggies myself on the balcony because we don't have a garden. But like I did like certain beans that I've always bought from the organic store for years, and that I like raised them myself, planted them myself, and it was like the comparison was there wasn't even a scale to compare him with, and it was like really interesting to see that even the best quality bought food wouldn't even touch the taste of the one that I was growing. So
Yeah.
I imagined like how much more tastier food must have been when we are just growing it all ourselves, or
Yeah.
like mostly ourselves. What a like difference, and how much our taste buds have adjusted even there to like, yeah, that's why we add a lot of salt and a lot of like whatever stuff you put in there, even herbs. And there's so many like herb combinations just to I feel like just to kind of distract you from the non-tastiness of everything. And it's actually so weird because if you do take like the really raw vegetable or really raw food, there is a lot of like taste in it. It's more like we kind
Yeah.
of that for so long now.
Yeah, kind of like when we're eating fruits by itself. I used to eat romaine lettuce
Mm.
when I was like in high school. Like I know my siblings probably thought I was crazy. Like it was this is before I know about like local foods and stuff. So it was bag lettuce and it was so crunchy and just I don't know, my palate was clean by then, so it was like crunchy. Actually, it was sweet to me because lettuce holds a lot of water content,
Mhm.
so it's really good. And so now I have my daughter. She will be in the fridge. Like I see lettuce all in the who's in this fridge eating lettuce. I know it's her because she's the only one doing it. I was like, oh my goodness, she got that from me. I don't eat lettuce now like that, but Yeah, you can eat a tomato like in fruit. Like some of the things you can kind of just eat. I know some people like to add like lime or like
Hmm.
salt to it to kind of pop out the flavor because I know salt can enhance the flavor if you add a little bit to it. But yeah, just even having the habit of just eating certain things by itself is kind of good too. And it's really good for the jaws because our mouth is supposed to be made to chew things. So
Hmm.
if you're eating things hard like a carrot or something that's having you chew, you also can the saliva production in your mouth too. I feel like a lot of things are at play. Like if we're just eating a lot of soft things or
Yes.
then it kind of reduces that strength. And that's why I think over time, I don't know if you're familiar with the Weston A. Price Foundation, the Sally, but she has a book on that, how just even over the years, the jaws, this just the proportion of our face transform over time based on the diet of our foods, because we're not eating the foods that was made for like if we were chewing hard
Really?
fibrous foods, then jaw would be like strong
Yeah.
in our neck and just there's certain vitamins that you're eating excuse me, as you mentioned about like when it comes to butter or eggs or meat, they're very high in the fat soluble vitamins A, D, and K,
Yeah.
right? But when you're not, like you can notice it in the butter or in the eggs, the butter will be a dark, richer yellow. That's how you know it's higher in the vitamins.
Hmm.
Or the eggs are a richer orange color, and that's how you know. And just those vitamins alone just helps to kind of the just production of how we grow. And a lot of our growth is stunted because of that.
Yes.
And that's interesting to know the between the difference in I would say like in Europe where you're living than where I'm living in the US because I find that most of the grocery stores, like you say, is packaged. And then the fruits and vegetables are coming from different countries, so we have to consider that they're taking fruits that's not ripe yet already.
Yeah, we have.
And then so to give it time so once it gets to the store it gets ripe. Because there will be a lot of times you go to the stores you find bananas really green
Yeah.
or and then you have okay now we're going they have pesticides now so now you could pick up a tomato you can't even smell the tomato or orange it smells like chemicals you can't even smell like you're supposed to pick up a piece of fruit or something you're supposed to be able to smell this natural essence
Yeah.
so you can your mouth salivates to let you know I'm ready to
Yeah.
eat
So it's like it should be.
so we there's so many things that we're disconnected from our body like being having that connection to food also there's you're already disconnected from your body now you're disconnected from food like that's a whole nother topic
Interesting, like that, the thing that it's kind of like nourishing us or our body,
yeah
nourishing our body is like going more and more processed so that we are not able to nourish ourselves through the food that we're getting, where most people get their food, which is the supermarket. So we have
yeah
it too. So there's, I always like joke with my family that the apples that you can buy like in the store, they are like at least 1.5 years old. So, you know, I don't know. Of course, we do take the apples from the trees in the garden of our family because like this one is really fresh and this one is like maybe 1 or 2 years old, and it's kind of like so strange because they look the same, but you can just imagine by normal thinking that there must be a difference in the vitamins in the way that it can like nourish you, and that's just the apple. So everything that you have packaged, I think like you try to stay off of it if you can, but I've also noticed how hard it is to do so, especially in a society that is so fast paced and that is so like, go 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 go. You need to like
yeah
really be really prepared to do so. So I made my own gnocchi, I made my own pasta, I made my own, like, of course, every dish I cook from scratch, but it takes a long time. And so I can really understand with no judgment when people say, like, I don't have time for that because their jobs or whatever they're doing, it's so consuming that it's hard to shift to prioritize that. I think we all can, and you're the best example, with being an entrepreneur and having 6 kids, and you still care for the food of your family in a way that it's healthy. So it's
yeah
you can do it. It's more the priority that needs to like kind of switch so that you
yeah
make time for it.
making time for it yeah like you said a lot of people are working outside of their homes so if they're working outside of home that time constraint like oh one thing was bread for example I don't make it as often but I was making bread and it was more of the process I was doing was no knead artisan bread And usually people are like, oh my goodness, I have to knead the bread. And this one made a time saving for me because it's like you literally mix the flour, the water, the salt, the oil, like coconut oil, whatever it was. You mix it and you leave it and you let it sit for like up to 18 hours. And this process of you letting it sit, developing this gluten, but it's also when it's fermenting, is developing it on itself. It's basically like nature's process of kneading. So once you're ready, like after those 12 to 18 hours, you just literally scoop it out and then you kind of form it into balls. Or like if you're making like dinner rolls or whatever you're making it, or like a boulie or a baguette or whatever. Because I used to do all the different shapes and little cut it, the styles and everything. But it's just about finding different processes too that makes it faster and easier. Like maybe you want to do a one pot meal that's quicker, or you do a slow cooker. What is something that you can put before you go into work, turn it on low, and then by the time you come back from work, it's ready. So it's just about finding different processes that works for you. And then maybe on Saturday and Sundays and the days you're off work, you can be able to have more time. Like, oh, you can spend 2 hours cooking or something like that, You can spend 2 to 3 hours on your days off or when your kids are on break or something like that. But being able to find, there's always, where there's a will, there's a way, they say. So there's always, like now, I would say, like I said, I don't make everything from scratch. I used to make waffles and I still make salad dressing from scratch, but not as much. And my kids still tell me, Mommy, when are you going to make the salad dressing? Because they love my salad dressing more than the store bought. It was just a compliment. But at the same time, sometimes I do find myself like, oh my goodness, I don't want to do this. Because I'm just like, I guess since I've done it for so long, and I think also because I'm trying to expand my business and I've been focusing on that, so I can definitely understand the people say the time constraint, and it's kind of like you can also maybe hire like a chef or somebody else to do it, or maybe you can have your kids do it. Like sometimes I have my kids do some things, and you have them involved in that process. But yeah, there's always a way, just kind of finding out how can you make that work for you and your family in different shifts. Different hacks, yeah.
I love that you said to like welcoming the kids because that's what I do too. And I've noticed the interest in food has really grown, especially in healthy food, since like we're doing that together. We're cooking together. Well, not always every evening, but like sometimes. And it's really an enriching practice to do together. And yeah, it might take longer at first, but the benefit that you get, that the kids like really eat the veggies if they may have not eaten it before, and like the getting in touch with the food that you eat, I think it's like a wonderful way to introduce them to keep that for later, because at some point they're out of your house, and then like if you don't want them to go to McDonald's every day, like it's a nice way to like really introduce them to like, okay, what can I do with this like thing that I've never seen? Oh yes, you have seen it, you like have a relationship already with the veggies and like the raw food. Not that you need to eat it raw, but like kind of like knowing what it looks like, or like you said, like knowing that the carrot actually wasn't coming in orange at first. So it's like really having the bit of the background story and inviting the kids in, or doing it on the weekends. We prepare a lot of on the weekends that we eat of like kind of, I love to date balls, these like kind of bliss balls. I love them. I get them every Sunday. And like if we're lucky, they're like there on Wednesday. But it's like a wonderful routine, and it's like super healthy, and also it's kind of like a mindful practice to cut out the stuff that we don't want to eat, because when it's there and you kind of crave something because you're really drained of energy, or you come home and you just want to snack with your coffee or tea, and there is something already there, you tend to like not fall back to the unhealthy stuff, because you have given it some thought, you already have given it some love. I think that's, for me, that was the most easy way to add something that is really supportive, without like, needing to prepare it in a moment, because it's already there. I think there's so many, like you said, there's so many easy ways to do that. And if you just start it and get the hang out of it, then it's not complicated. It's actually fun. So it can actually like be a relaxing thing after work, and not be other thing that you need to do.
And also I would say to have some things, snacks on hand, like, because sometimes you might open a refrigerator, like if you want to be real, you open a refrigerator, just a bunch of ingredients, and you're like, oh my goodness, I don't feel like making anything right now. And sometimes days like that, you may just like, let me get a rice cake and add some peanut butter to it, maybe like some preserves or jelly. That's good. Or let me get some sour cream with not sour cream, tortilla chips with sour cream, and snacks are almost like very rich in protein and just kind of like food a little bit. And hummus. Sometimes I don't make anymore, but I used to make hummus like with the inside of the food processor. Oh, it's so delicious. When you make it, like you said, you make something from scratch. It's so like light years difference from like when you get it from the package. And I will make a platter for my kids, like carrots and cucumbers, bell peppers, olives, and different things. And you just dip it into the hummus. Sometimes they make it in big batches. But now I have so many kids now, like 6, so stuff goes by really fast. Or sometimes I'll just have boiled eggs in there. Like that's a
Yeah.
snack. Because I noticed like when you have like more protein, that kind of just sustains you a little bit longer too. And that's kind of just like one of the building blocks. So I have a lot of amino acids and stuff that you need for especially children, like as you're growing and things like that. So
Yeah, I feel like people shy often away because it seems like such a complex topic, the right, nutrition. And then again, I don't think that there's any right nutrition, but the body, like
yeah,
with everything, it tells it what it wants. So we have been vegan for quite some time, and then there was this like craving of meat, and we like looked at that for a while, and then said like, okay, well, the body kind of knows what it's doing, so why not trusting it? For me, it's
yeah,
very important to eat like really high quality meat. So if we do, then I make sure it comes from a source that I know is high quality. Sometimes we go out and like really buy it from a farmer that we know, where we know the animal. So it's really
yeah,
it's a trusted
yeah,
source, and then it's totally fine for me to eat it. But it depends on like how I go about it, how grateful I am for it, for how granted I take it, and how much I eat of it. So it's a combination of things, but it doesn't have to be like um this overwhelm of what is the right and the wrong thing. And I think still people are so much into that's the right diet, that's the wrong diet, but it's everything is attached.
yeah,
Like you said, eating healthy is not. It's like it has to do with self-care and self-love and mindfulness. So it's actually quite a spiritual practice if you kind of
yeah. It's not a
seriously.
yeah. And not a one size fit all. And I love that you mentioned you brought up the vegan, how you were vegan and you felt like you needed because I feel like there's this propaganda around or this fear mongering about like veganism. Like if you're vegan, you have to stay vegan. And like you said, we are naturally intuitive. And I feel like eating the relationship is a relationship with food too, because food are living things. They're growing, is living. So the energy of the food can sustain us for us to live. That energy is transferring to us into our body, the vitamins and everything to help us sustain life. And once we ignore that, like you feel like, oh, I'm vegan, I have to stay by this rigid diet because, people are going to look at me a certain way. I fell off because I had an egg or
Yeah,
something.
like a
And it's kind of like just honor your body. Your body has rights over you and it's telling you to eat it. And even with my experience when I was plant based for a while, I noticed I was trying to just incorporate more plant based. Even though I did had beef, it was just very sparingly. And it was mostly like maybe salmon here. But I remember vividly that first time I had like a burger for so long, it was just like everything was like lighting up inside of my body because it was like this is what I needed. And then I don't know, there's this dark side of veganism. I don't know if you
Mhm.
heard it like on YouTube where people who are just almost like an occult, like I had to be vegan and stuff, and then how they were decreasing their libido and their muscle strength and just certain things. And when they finally had meat again, they felt good. And it was such a traumatic experience for some people that they literally became like carnivores. All they were eating was almost like raw meat. I don't know if you heard of this,
No,
but yeah, there's people that's out of there like eating raw meat. Yeah, I do not recommend that, but
no.
because it was like so traumatic, it was like from one extreme to the next extreme. And it's about just having balance in your life.
And about
Yeah, just having balance.
and like really honoring your body, what you just said is because like if it doesn't feel good for you, then it probably isn't. So
Yeah,
you could be vegan by living on Coke and chips, but that might not be the
yeah,
healthiest of things, and if you like crave certain foods, and I don't talk like about the processed stuff, I talk like about real food, then it's
Yeah.
probably for you. And on the other hand as well, so I haven't eaten tomatoes for 20 years raw because like they just tasted awful for me. And then suddenly they were really interesting. So now I'm eating them and I'm enjoying them, and I'm sure my body wasn't able to like process them correctly before. So that's why he kind of like refused to have them. So why not listen to it? So that's also,
Yeah.
we don't like make our kid eat something because I think it's healthy, because like what do I know what his body needs at that moment?
Yeah.
So it's coming back to like the basics that we also kind of talk about in spirituality or in entrepreneurship or in like life in general. Is like really align with yourself and do what is good for yourself and what like you feel called to do, and not what is like someone else teaching you is right or wrong or good or bad or whatever, because like who could know except for you? And that comes, I think, back to the trust and the belief in ourselves and the wisdom that we already hold, and like not so much leaning onto knowledge of someone else.
Yeah. Yeah, because there's hundreds of diets you can think, like Atkins diet, you have the paleo diet, the whole 360 diet. There's so many diets out there trying to figure out the perfect. There's never going to be a perfect
Oh,
something because everyone is going to have a different circumstance of what they need. Even if someone presents with the same illness or disease, the approach for which they're going to heal themselves is not going to be the same because everyone is not the same, you know? And that's why you can find just even if we can just find in nature that we have one carrot that comes in three different colors, we have watermelons that come in different colors, and it has different flavor profiles and different vitamin profiles. Like, you know, can you imagine, like, or even like medicine is some things when that's necessary to take, and just to understand, like you said, just honoring that body's wisdom and to have like this intuition, and then to experiment with your like. We experiment with everything else. What hair products do I like in my hair? What skin products do I want to wear? We
yeah,
can do the same thing with food.
love that.
What do you like? What do you want to experiment with? Kind of, how does your body feel for it? Because maybe you notice that you're eating spaghetti. Sorry.
Sorry. And change,
I was about to say, maybe,
that
yeah,
really change over time. So what you might liked a few years ago now, maybe you might not. Or like you said, it's about
yeah,
really staying curious and really trying things out. And I feel we're not allowing that. Like I love the example that you've just given with the styling products or the fashion. We always like trying on something different and seeing if we're that kind of type. But why not in food?
yeah. Because I just recognized recently I need to have very high protein. Like my body needs a lot of protein. And I'm not sure it's because I have like so many children, but like I will make pancakes an alternative, like unbleached organic flour or like Himalayan sea salt, coconut oil, all of that. And I will make these pancakes, maple syrup and everything, but I will still feel like they call it like the itis when you feel kind of sleepy after you eat. And I was like, I don't like the way I feel. I want to be able to eat food and feel energized, right? And then so it was kind of just a way of experiment. Sometimes just, the kids love it, they eat it. So I just would make it and I'll just eat it. And then one day I think I had protein and I was like, oh, protein, I add more. And I think I just like poured so much protein in there. And that was like the first time I felt like I was able to eat pancakes and not feel tired after. And I was just like, wow, my body needs a lot of protein. So it's kind of just also, like you said, knowing the knowledge of what is type of vitamins and type of proteins and what your body need. And because one time I had did a raw food diet, it was I don't remember why I did it, but at the end of like the third day, I was having like extreme massive pain
Mhm.
in my teeth area, and I had miso soup after. That helped a little bit, like this miso soup. But then I recognized I'm not really sure, but it just kind of just like intuitively knew it's like, oh, my body needs like these fast soluble vitamins,
Yeah.
so maybe I need to increase my vitamin A, D, and K. So I would have like cod liver oil or something like that. And so every time I felt like there was some type of pain right at then I would just increase my intake in that and that and that. Or so kind of just listen to, yeah, you just gotta listen to your body and you kind of know.
I agree. Like you said with the proteins, I feel the moment we like really tune in, we can get the answer because it's already there. Like if we could go into quantum physics, but that's too much for this episode.
Yeah.
Like everything's already there, so your knowledge is basically already at your fingertips. And the moment you tune in, like you said, you felt like you needed to add protein to the pancakes and then you can eat them. And I thought, like, have you tried chickpea pancakes? Because I think that must be the most beautiful thing for you, having like that.
No, I made chickpea burgers before.
Ah,
Chickpea burgers, they were so good.
yeah.
But yeah, I made black bean burgers. It was like a chipotle
Hmm.
type things. I forgot what seasonings I made, but those were really filling. I felt like they were more filling than having like a hamburger. But it was I feel like it's harder to process sometimes because you have the vegetables. That's another thing I used to worry about. Like, what was your experience of that when it came to like veganism, having more vegetables, especially raw? Because our stomachs are not made to digest a lot of fibrous, like people say, like, oh, animals. If you think about a cow has, what is it, like 7 stomachs or something like
Yeah.
that? I'm kind of throwing it, but it's a whole lot of things that is going to process.
Yeah.
Our stomachs are not made like that. So I feel like and sometimes actually when you're cooking stuff like tomatoes or vegetables, a lot of that nutrients is actually kind of enhanced in it, especially whatever you're cooking with. Like if you're making meats and you're adding some citrus,
Yeah.
like bell peppers or something, it will increase the iron inside of there. So it's about pairing things together too. When you're pairing some things to increase the availability of different nutrients in your food. But I don't know where I was going. I don't know where it's.
But I know
I just had a
because I think like there is things that go together well. There's a reason for that, you know. I really feel that, and
yeah.
for you talking about the raw food experience, I've never done it because maybe like because it's like quite cold where I live most of the time, and I'm already always wearing a blanket, so that was like kind of taking too much energy for me. And I also think like we are often, depending on where we live, it's really good to have like things cooked a little bit so that it's easier for us to process. That's something that I've noticed for myself. But then again, there are people who like really like it raw and crunchy, and that's the way that I digest better. So again, there it's about like what you need at that moment. And I've realized when I'm in holidays and it's really hot, I can eat totally different and I can digest things that I cannot digest at home. So depends on so many factors, but it comes down to like I think staying really open and experimenting and really seeing what it is, and this curiosity or joy that we have within that swaps over to the kids as well. So if you like really want your kids to enjoy food or be mindful about it, you can't always like be there for them and do that. I think the most important thing you can do is like really teach them how to work with the sugar or how to like eat healthy. And then of course they need to like experiment that for themselves. But
Yeah.
if there's no pressure but curiosity, I feel it's like always very easy to come back. Then there's no judgment there.
Yeah, you mentioned about the cold, how like depending on the weather, how you eat, and I feel like that is a big that is a big distinguished feature. I don't think we utilize
Yeah.
eating in the seasons
Yes.
because that makes a big difference. Eating not just locally but also in the seasons because it's like when it's summertime and all. Okay, so I'm kind of like all over the place, but in the Chinese medicine or traditional Chinese medicine, sometimes the body is hot or is cold and kind of balancing that. So, like in the summertime, you're going to be eating more cold and refreshing fruits, like maybe cucumbers and watermelons and things like that. But then once it gets a little colder, like winter, your body needs more nourishing
Yeah.
soups,
Yeah.
stuff like that, and things. And yeah, just kind of, which is beautiful because we have 4 different seasons, and now you get to switch up your foods based on that. As if you keep in monotone, let me just have juices and smoothies all year round. And then also the body, what is it, gets desensitized by certain things. Like if you're just doing the same thing over and over, it's no longer going to work.
Yeah.
So like even if you're taking herbal supplements or like if you're in homeopathy or something, you only get to take it for a certain amount of time and then you're supposed to stop and then you could reintroduce it back into your body because then your body could kind of just it's too much for your body. Or if you like I know for mega dosing vitamin C, like if you're taking a lot of high doses you have to do it slowly. So I just pair with someone that you know, like a holistic doctor or a practitioner or someone who's like a holistic wellness coach, right? And just if you don't know, seek those who do know.
Yeah. Yeah. It's
And yeah,
always good to like really seek out advice, or maybe not even advice, but for like look for people who like have walked a path and have a lot of information that is like not generalized, that really can work with your way of living in the climate you're living in and the situation and the
yeah,
level and the whatever, taking it all into account and not just like taking the diet out of the latest like newspaper and trying it out because that's kind of seems to be the right thing, but like really looking at what you need right now, and also inviting in this cyclical nature that we humans all have, even though we kind of like tend to forget. um
yeah,
like really using the wisdom of nature and the cyclical way our body works, because they can really not only, like you said, we're desensitizing from things, but also it kind of gets boring after a certain time if you
yeah,
eat the same like kind of foods. So the switching up, there's a lot of like benefits to it.
yeah. That's really good. And I had this thought in my head, and then it just kind of zoom passed by. I don't know what's going on today.
Maybe
That
it's
happens
coming
sometimes because
back.
I think there's so much in there. Yeah, this is what I remember now. I wanted to mention because when it comes and around to the time of food and health, people another thing people are hesitant to try. Oh, it's healthy, and I didn't come from like a background of like heavy finances and everything. And there's definitely so many options. When I was living in Texas, I came across something called salvage supermarkets. And the way these are, it's kind of like the thrift store of supermarkets, if that makes sense. So stores like Target or Walmart, where they have an excess, an overstock of fruits and vegetables or just foods, or something is coming across its expiring date, they will take it to the salvage stores. Because that's a whole nother thing too. If you find non-perishable foods and it has a date that's about to expire in a month or two, maybe they'll take it off the shelves. But foods don't expire until I think a few months after.
Yeah.
But they put it on there as a precaution. So you will have these stores. So I was able to go to the salvage supermarket. Well, it was one salvage supermarket store. You get loads of like organic strawberries. Like I would get five for the price of one in the actual supermarket at this store. So it's, and I forgot, but I'm sure there's a list. They have websites that have a list where you can find it where
Mm-hmm.
you live. But to be able to find things like that, or
Yeah.
maybe if you have government assistance, or I'm there are some benefits with government assistance food programs that allow you to go to local food markets and use that money at local farmers markets,
Yeah.
or also to even buy seeds to plant your own fruits and vegetables. I'm not sure if people notice that, but there are you can buy seeds from your local store to help plant your own fruits and vegetables. So even if you don't really have the money or the finances for it, it's still doable. It's just about getting creative and finding the resources.
Yeah, I love that. And
Yeah.
oh my God, I love that sort of supermarkets. They're not allowed here, but that's really, I think it's really beautiful. And it serves like it's a win-win for both sides. So if you have something like this near, or like you said, I think it's again not being stopped, or not making excuses because there's lack of finances or lack of time or lack of whatever, perceived lack. It's always doable if you like really commit to it, and the commitment comes from
Yeah.
the love of the self, or like the desire to like really live in a way that is feeling good and not feeling drained of energy, or accumulating health problems and pains along the way. So there's many different
Yeah.
ways of why we can start that journey, but it's like I feel it comes down basically to like really caring for this vehicle that we have here during this time, and however we do it, it's like always worth the journey and the energy that we invest in. So I thank you so much. I think I would love to like talk on for hours about.
Yeah,
Oh,
because I was just
so
about to think about like when you tie it into mindset, and like you said, once you declare something, you decide that you want to do something, you commit to it. All the opportunities come to it, but you have to just make that decision. This is what I wanted to do, and
yeah,
commit to it. And the opportunities just present itself to you,
yeah.
you know.
Hey, oh my,
So
that's really like I love to like go down that road at some point to like really how we build new habits, and how we like really declare, like you said, what we wish to change, because I think that's often like a hiccup point, that people say like, I kind of know what's good for me or healthy for me, but then again, I don't do it. So, well,
Yeah.
I feel we have a topic
Yeah.
for another
Yeah.
podcast episode.
Yeah. And if nothing changes, nothing changes. That's
That's
another thing.
true.
So
That's
nothing
true.
changes, nothing
Hey,
changes.
I think.
But yeah, this was beautiful. Thank you again for
Thank
having
you,
me. I
thank you.
really
It was
appreciate this.
joyful as always to speak
Yeah.
to you, and
Yeah.
I'm wishing you a wonderful day. I hope we speak very, very
Thank you.
soon.
Thank you. I hope you enjoy the rest of your day
Yeah,
too. Thank you. I have the rest of a wonderful weekend.
yeah, you too. Goodbye, my dear.
Okay. Okay. Bye.